Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick video with a rundown of some ideas for festive presents. Now, it's one of the things that happens to me a lot at Christmas time. People come and say, what do you want for Christmas? And I really have to think about it. I'm very lucky, I get my hands on lots of technology. So I thought what it would be useful to do is to collect some of that fab technology that I've looked at and do a quick rundown and a reminder of some of that stuff that's knocking about. I know in particular quite a few of my friends have this thing where through the year they see things that I've played with or the other guys at the field have done and that really like, and it's hard when you actually are faced with the question from a loved one about what would you like for Christmas to actually remember what that thing was. So I've got a little list here. I'll put links down below. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Who knows, there might be something on this list that you can remember, and then when you are asked that dreaded question, at least you've got an idea. First thing on the list is this BenQ reading lamp. Now, I've had this 2 or 3 months and I am a huge fan. Now, I've tried lots of different lamps here, and this is the one that by far gets my thumbs up. It's on an articulated arm and it gives a nice diffused light. It's LED, so you can control the brightness and you can also control the color of the light. Now, I have found it invaluable in these darker days. I can spend hours sat at that bench while I'm building or troubleshooting or making videos, and that lamp does a fantastic job of illuminating the entire work surface. If you are looking for a work lamp, then this is the one that would get my vote. I've tried lots of others. This is the one that is staying on the bench and is still there now and getting used every single day. Second idea is to get yourself some spares. Now, I have quite a big box of spares because I'm always building stuff, and I tend to, when I order a flight controller, I'll usually order a couple, get them from loads of different places. In the UK, I buy lots of stuff from places like 3DXR, hobbyist regularly gets orders for this kind of stuff. But if you are thinking of doing another build, then maybe ask people for, or put your pennies aside for things like a spare camera, receiver, video transmitter, flight controller, and a GPS unit for that next build. I use a lot of the Maytech stuff here. It just seems to work incredibly well, particularly with iNav, and the Maytech Wing series of flight controllers just make putting something like iNav or even RD Pilot into a fixed wing model an absolute piece of cake. Other cute little things that make nice ideas for presents, Vi-Fly smoke stopper. I've got the version 2 here, and again that's on the bench. It's not only useful for checking when you plug something in for the first time, it's also handy because there is a little button on it that turns the power on and off, and that can be incredibly useful when you're doing things like binding receivers, so you don't have to try and hold things with your teeth while you're trying to plug things together and press the bind button on the receiver. Other product from Vi-Fly that is worthwhile getting hold of is the Vi-Fly beeper. Again, this is a standard kind of beeper that you have in the model, but this one is battery backed up and also has a flashing LED as well. Invaluable if your model comes down in longer grass or scrubland or something like that. It gives you a chance of finding it. Next idea is to get yourself a SpeedyBee adapter 3. Mine lives in my case here along with everything else. With the phone at the field, it means that with Betaflight and with iNav and a couple of other systems as well, you can just plug this in, connect to it, and you can do everything you need to do. And it does mean that if you want to change things like how the modes are doing, or check how the configuration is, or just tweak the offsets, not everything is available in the on-screen display, but I don't have to worry about that if the SpeedyBee adapter is always in my bag. Other nice idea is a fat strap for your goggles. Fat straps are very, very comfortable. I've got them on all my goggles here. Steve, who runs the company over in the United States, is a lovely guy. Unfortunately, I still don't think we're able to buy them off anyone here in the UK, so shipping can be a little expensive. But if you find somebody that stocks fat straps, say that 3 times fast, and the strap that you've got is maybe getting a little bit worn or it just doesn't feel very comfortable, they are fantastic. I'd heartily recommend them. They're really good at also making sure that the battery for your goggles doesn't end up slipping out when you pull the goggles on or pull them down over your forehead, which used to happen to me all the time before I switched to these. Next idea from me is the Radiomaster T8 Lite radio, a cracking radio for basic stuff, but I would really recommend this if you like to play with the simulator and you are planning to do a lot more flying in the winter. Rather than put all that strain and stress on your main flying radio, you can just get one of these. It'll plug in via the USB cable at the top and you can use it with your sim, and it's also charged by that same USB cable as well. It's just like an extra Xbox or PlayStation controller that you could just keep with the PC that has the simulator on it. Obviously, if you've got an extra little bit of cash, you can also treat yourself to a new whoop for practicing indoors in the colder, wet, windy weather. Two of the favourites that I've seen recently was the HGLRC Petrol 65 or the Emax Tiny Hawk 3. The Tiny Hawk 3 in particular is a beautiful machine. I think more aimed at beginners. It's not particularly powerful or fast, but it's incredibly stable and inspires a shed load of confidence, which is exactly what you want if you're starting out. Next one on my list then is the Menace RC Cob LED kits. Talked a week or two ago about the fact that they now do green Cob LEDs. Hooray! Now, these are incredibly bright, and it does mean that you can put them on anything. I'm going to be installing mine on my Atom RC Dolphin, and that's going to be used for night flying. I'm going to put the white LEDs along with some green and red so that when those things light up, it's going to be great for flying in dusk conditions. Another thing that made me laugh and I've had a lot of fun with is this little thing here, this tabletop radio control car. Has lights on underneath and it's just a really fun thing to play with. If you want to kind of annoy the people who are sat by either side of you on your Zoom call or just have something to goof around with, this is great. Other ideas then, soldering is a big part of the hobby, and having a decent soldering iron with an interchangeable tip and a decent desoldering device are really important. I use a lot of Weller stuff here, but I looked at the Squire MSS 12 soldering station recently and again was absolutely blown away. It was fantastic. I'm quite happy to use that in lots of cases where I would normally have pulled out the Weller stuff, where some of the other smaller USB powered devices just didn't seem to cut it. Also, having spares can be handy, so I would always recommend make sure that you have enough double-sided foam tape. I use it everywhere. I find that the stuff that you buy specifically to put on things like car number plates is incredibly sticky. I use it to mount all of my flight controllers, and just you'll see it in loads of builds. If you ever see one of my builds up close, it's a really simple, easy way to stick things inside your model, particularly when you're talking about things like receivers, video transmitters, flight controllers, GPSs. And the other option then is you could also think about getting yourself some 12-volt powered bits that you could power from a 3S battery at the field. I have a battery powered hot glue gun. I also now have a battery powered soldering station. That again is that Squire MSS 12 that I looked at recently, and also have the small portable multimeter. I have the pocket one here, which is actually quite expensive for what it is, pairs with your phone, or a regular little multimeter. If you haven't already got one, you can buy them for 20, 30, 40 pounds, and they are invaluable in the hobby. While we're talking about tools then, that brings me on to my last idea for festive presents, and that is the Toolkit RC M8 or M8S or MC8 multifunction tool. Did a video on that a handful of weeks ago. Lots of people commented and said they had the same kind of thing and that it was worth its weight in gold, and it absolutely is. If you haven't already invested in one of those, then it's worthwhile having on the bench for those times when you need it, because when you need it, it is unbelievably useful and can save an awful lot of head scratching by helping you figure out exactly what the problem is. So hopefully that was useful and has reminded you of maybe a couple of things that would be interesting for you and could either be a present for you, maybe for one of your other radio control buddies, or maybe if you're lucky enough to get some money around the festive period and are looking for something to spend it on, you've got some ideas as well. Again, linked all down below. Best wishes for the rest of December, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.